Have you ever noticed that English has dozens of different ways to say walk or run? Someone can stroll through a park, march in a protest, wander around a city, limp home after an injury, or leap over a puddle. In this podcast, we're exploring the language of movement. You'll learn verbs, collocations, idioms, and expressions that will make your English much more natural and expressive when you speak about movement. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hi, I'm Reza.
And my name's Craig.
And with nearly 60 years of teaching between us, we hope to help you improve your English and take it up to the next level. So Craig, we're on our 4th episode today. We've already recorded 3. You feeling tired? Are you feeling okay? How's it going?
I think I might need a stroll after lunch today just to clear my head a bit. What about you?
Yeah, stretch the legs.
Stretch the legs, have a wander.
You read my mind. I wouldn't mind stretching my legs just to get the old blood flowing again and clear out my head a bit.
So why are we talking about words like stroll, wander, walk, etc.? What's the motivation behind today's episode?
Well, the motivation is a very common motivation in this podcast. A good idea from Marta from Poland.
Of course, Marta.
Shall I play a message?
Yep, let's hear from Marta.
Hello. Hopefully you won't be browned off by yet another message from me, Marta. It's just that I decided to go with the flow and suggest one more topic: movement vocabulary. I find it moving that English has so many words with subtle variations in tone or meaning. Hop, skip, leap, jump. Walk, march, saunter, stroll. Fly, glide, soar, and more. Look after yourselves. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, Marta. Always a pleasure to get your messages. Are you feeling browned off from her messages, Reza? What does browned off mean?
Not in the least. Browned off means tired of something, fed up, like you've had enough of it. No, Marta, quite the opposite. We love receiving your messages because you give us great ideas. You do the thinking for us. All we have to do is set up the microphone and talk a bit.
We were jumping for joy, you could say.
You know, by the way, your message, I don't know if it was planned to be this way on purpose, but it sounded almost like a poem to me. It sounded quite poetic. And in the end,
there was a rhythm to it.
There was a rhythm and there was even a rhyme, because you ended with 2 words at the end of the last 2 lines, which rhymed with or. It sounded like a poem. Really poetic. Great message.
Very impressive. So, movement vocabulary, Marta, an excellent idea. There's a lovely vocabulary and collocation connected to movement. And with English, we don't really need too many adjectives sometimes, because in English there's such a variety of different verbs that you could use to express meaning. So instead of saying walking slowly, for example, you could say stroll, S-T-R-O-L-L, which means to walk slowly and enjoyably, pleasantly. We took a stroll through the park after lunch, to take an evening stroll, to stroll along the beach after having a couple of beers.
Yes, so it can be a verb, as Craig's just pointed out, to stroll, or it can be a noun, and you can put it in the collocation to take a stroll. So it collocates with the verb take if it's a noun, to stroll or to take a stroll.
And of course, a stroller for babies is a little seat with wheels that you can stroll along and push your baby with you, a stroller.
Instead of saying to walk proudly, a much better expression would be to march. Well, in fact, not only is it much better, but it's actually necessary in certain circumstances. For example, whenever there's a group of people who have planned a specific way they're going to walk in rhythm together, like in a military way, you have to say march. There's no other way you can say it. If it's like a planned, formal way of marching and they all put their left foot on the ground at the same time and their right foot, you have to say march. There's no other way. But apart from that, it could be used for someone who's just walking but in a very proud way. So not a soldier in a formal way necessarily. You could say, he marched into the room and said, you know what? I hate you all, I'm leaving my job and I don't care. So that wasn't like a soldier, but we could still say he marched into the room very proudly. So it can be specifically in the military sense, like soldiers marching into war, but it could also be like demonstrators on the street or someone just walking in a very confident, proud way. All of that can be march.
And another example, you can walk painfully. You can use the adverb painfully to describe the way you're walking, but we have a verb for that. You can limp, L-I-M-P. He walks with a limp. Or I limped home after twisting my ankle. That happened to me. I fell over in the street a few months ago and it was very embarrassing. I immediately stood up and said, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine, don't worry, I'm okay. And then when no one was watching, I started to limp home. Yeah, it was painful.
Listeners, as I said earlier, keep an eye on the verbs which collocate with certain nouns. Yeah, just to recap, we said you can say to stroll or to take a stroll. March is a verb, but it doesn't normally collocate with another verb as a noun, not typically. However, with limp, you can say to limp, as Craig said, I limped home, or you can say to walk with a limp, yeah? Or you can say to have a limp as well, but not to take a limp, right? To take a stroll, but not take with limp, yeah? Careful with the verbs.
Another example is to wander. W-A-N-D-E-R. There's a list of these words in the show notes. If you want to see them, check the spelling. Go to inglespodcast.com/633. If you're wandering, you're walking without a destination. You could say that you're wandering around London, for example. Or in Valencia, I enjoy wandering through the old city. Also, your mind can wander. If you stop concentrating and you're not focused on something, then your mind wanders. Don't confuse wander with an A with wonder with an O. I wonder if it's going to rain today. That means I'm thinking, I'm questioning if it's going to rain. Or the noun wonder. I looked at the painting in wonder, in admiration. So don't confuse those two words. Similar pronunciation, different spelling. Wander and wonder.
Now, Rome could be a very famous city in Italy, could be, but not if it's spelled R-O-A-M. That's different. That Rome is to move over a large area. For example, lions roam freely in the nature reserve. So they move around in a large area, and lions are the king of the jungle. They're the king of everything. You don't muck about with a lion. Yeah, a lion is the boss. They roam. So if somebody or an animal roams, they're in no hurry. They're not frightened. You're not going to move it away. It's not frightened of you. You should be frightened of it. The lion roams. It's chilled. It's moving around in a large area as it so pleases.
Buffalo also roam, don't they? Over the hills, over the plains, like in the song, show me a home where the buffalo roam, and I'll show you a house with a very messy carpet.
Very good.
Saunter, S-A-U-N-T-E-R. To saunter is to walk slowly and confidently, with a certain confidence, your head held high, your back up straight. He sauntered into the room, for example.
To stagger, S-T-A-G-G-E-R, is to walk unsteadily. You're not steady if you stagger. For example, the drunken man staggered out of the bar. He had had too much to drink. So it's often associated with drunkenness. The way you walk after you drink too much is to stagger.
I can remember staggering home many times when I was younger. And I lived with my parents until I was about 18, I think, 19 maybe. And when I staggered home after the pub closed, and I went home and opened the door, my parents were asleep upstairs, and I tiptoed up to my bedroom. To tiptoe, I walked very quietly so that I didn't wake up my parents. I tiptoed upstairs.
Well, you think you didn't wake them up, but you possibly did. That's the thing with drunks, isn't it? They think they're
Tiptoeing.
not bothering anybody, but they are. So I'm sure you did tiptoe, but I wonder if you did the classic sort of thing which drunks did. So they tiptoe. Maybe even you took off your shoes. I don't know.
Yeah, I did.
Right up the stairs. But maybe like banged into the wall or something like that, and maybe you went like to yourself. And that woke your parents up anyway, the kind of classic thing.
So you think it's a tiptoe, but it's really a plod.
Exactly. You probably plodded up the stairs. That's our next one. P-L-O-D is to walk slowly but heavily. For example, the exhausted old man plodded home and went to bed. He might have been drunk or he might not, but plodding is walking slowly and heavily because you're tired. Possibly because you're drunk, could be. P-L-O-D, plod.
To shuffle is to walk without lifting your feet very much. So you don't lift your feet and walk properly, you just slide your feet across the floor. And older people tend to do this. My grandmother shuffled into the kitchen to make a cup of tea, to shuffle, to move without lifting your feet off the ground.
Now there is an expression to do the shuffle, but it's not really, it's a type of dance. If you do the shuffle, it's a very specific dance which was invented in the 50s or 60s, something like that. Maybe have you ever heard of the shuffle?
I've heard of it, yeah, but I don't think I know how to do it. I can shuffle cards.
Ah, okay. Yeah, when you move
Mix
cards
them.
around. So to do the shuffle is a specific dance, the shuffle, and it's called that because it's done without lifting your feet. You kind of slide your feet around. Think of the 1960s, yeah, kind of swaying from side to side. That was the shuffle. So to do the shuffle is a specific dance. It's not the same as to shuffle. Not the same thing.
Another verb is to stride. So stride is an irregular verb. It's stride, strode, stridden, and it means to walk with confidence. He opened the door and he strode across the room and sat down without saying anything. To stride, to walk, and you kind of move your feet quite a long way, don't you? It's quite a distinctive, like a long step each time when you're striding. Do you know the slang strides? If I say to you I bought a new pair of strides?
No, what would that be?
Trousers.
Why is that? Where does it come from?
I think, well, it's from London, but I think it's because you're walking with the trousers. They call them strides. You're striding with the trousers. You're walking quite confidently.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're just called strides as trousers, yeah.
That makes sense. Our next word is a very common word also. It's dash. D-A-S-H. Yeah, it can be a verb or a noun. So the verb to dash is to move quickly and or maybe with urgency. So one of the two things, quickly or urgency, or both together. For example, the escaped prisoner made a dash for the border fence. So our collocation, if we use dash as a noun, is to make a dash. Not do, not take, make a dash. So he made a dash for the border. He moved quickly and with urgency because he had to get over the border quick before the police caught him. He made a dash for it.
To hop, H-O-P, is to jump on one foot. Usually it's one foot. Imagine you're walking across the bedroom, you're not wearing shoes or slippers, and you hit your toe on the bed, and you hop only one foot on the ground, moving, jumping on one foot because the other foot is up in the air because it's painful. However, you could use hop with a rabbit, for example, would hop with 2 feet together. Kangaroos hop with 2 feet. And you can also use it informally in the example, hop into the car and I'll give you a lift, which means get into the car, jump in quickly, hop in and I'll take you to the centre of the city, for example.
Another very common collocation is to hop into bed. But it doesn't mean literally that you've actually hopped. It doesn't mean that you've done it in one leg. But for some reason, we have this collocation, which is to hop into bed. To get into bed quick. Hop into bed there. Get into bed. Imagine you're a mum talking to your kids. You say, oh, it's really late. Hop into bed. Come on. Go to sleep. It's late. Hop into bed. Have you ever hopped into bed, Craig?
Yeah, I've hopped into bed, hopped out of bed.
So we could say you're a bed hopper, could we?
Yeah, but
You've done a bit of bed hopping, have you?
well, it's usually my bed. It's usually in my bed.
So what is bed hopping?
These days? Well, bed hopping will be to jump and move from one bed to another bed, so it's not necessarily the same bed. So someone who's promiscuous, who likes to have sex with different partners, would be possibly a bed hopper, someone who hops and moves from bed to bed. I bet you used to be a bit of a bed hopper in your younger days.
Never, only in my imagination, never in reality.
A word which often collocates with hop is skip, as in the expression hop, skip and jump. And if you're a fan of athletics, you know that there is the hop, skip and jump in athletics, where the runner runs up and then hops on one foot and then kind of skips and puts the weight on the other foot and then finishes with a jump and tries to get as far as possible. So to skip is also a light, happy movement, small jumps. You could say the children skipped down the street happily, and it also means to miss something or avoid something, to skip a meeting, or I decided to skip lunch today because I'm not really hungry and I'm very busy, so I skipped lunch. So in movement though, it means to move happily like a child, skip down the road.
Our next word, leap, is connected to hop and skip as well. It's also a type of jump, but definitely a powerful jump. A leap isn't a little jump, it's a big jump. For example, he leapt over the fence. It's irregular. Yeah, leap, leapt, leapt. So to make the past and the past participle, you simply add the letter T. Although it is possible to write ED, you can say leaped and leaped, and you hear that quite often in American English, but it's more typical to hear leap, leapt, leapt. He leapt over the fence, so he powerfully jumped over the fence. A big jump is a leap.
To tread is another verb of movement. It means to step carefully or maybe carelessly without paying attention. Be careful with tread, it's irregular. Tread, trod, trodden. Again, check the show notes for the spelling. And you can tread on someone's toe, which can be really painful. Ouch! Be careful where you tread. You've just trodden on my toes.
Yeah, so it's weird that, isn't it? Because it's for two opposites. Be careful where you tread. Be careful. Because you've just trodden on my toes, beg your pardon. You haven't been careful. Isn't that weird? So it's for both doing it carefully and doing it not carefully. It's strange, but it's the same word, right?
Yeah.
Very odd.
Yeah.
Our next word is bounce. That's to move up and down. You can bounce a ball. For example, if you play basketball, you need to know how to bounce a ball. The ball has to leave your hand, hit the ground, and come back up into your hand. But when we're talking about movement, so no involvement of balls, it simply means to move up and down repeatedly. So, for example, imagine I had kids who were mucking about at night. I want them to go to sleep, but they're on the bed, and I say, stop bouncing on the bed. They're jumping like up and down in the bed and moving around. Stop bouncing. Go to sleep, I could say.
I surprised my wife recently and I changed our bed for a trampoline.
Oh, how did that go?
Not very well, she hit the ceiling.
So to hit the ceiling can be to be very, very angry, but if you're on a trampoline, your head could literally hit the ceiling, I guess.
Trip, you might know trip. When you travel, you take a trip, don't you? But the verb to trip, well, it has a couple of meanings. Let's look at the movement meaning first. That means to fall while you're walking. As I said before, I fell over in the street because I tripped. So trip is regular, tripped. The boy's laces were untied. His shoelaces were not tied, so he tripped and fell down. And I fell down in the street because I tripped on the pavement. And another meaning, if you take drugs, for example, you could go on a trip, you could trip. I tripped when I took the acid or when I took the E, for example.
One last verb I wanted to add, just because it's so typical of where I come from the north of Ireland, is dander. And it's a word which you'll find in any English dictionary, D-A-N-D-E-R, but it's extremely popular where I come from. You'll often hear in Belfast, will we go for a wee dander? Shall we go for a little stroll? It's kind of our version of stroll. You'll hear it. I think I've heard it in Scotland as well a lot. So it seems to be a very kind of Celtic English thing, a dander, to go for a wee dander.
So those are some verbs, all showing different types of movement. Let's look at idioms and expressions now that incorporate movement and speak about movement. For example, you could go with the flow, which is to accept things as they happen without trying to control them, without getting too stressed or too anxious. You don't need to plan every minute of the holiday. Just go with the flow, just let it happen.
I think Marta used that in her message, didn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, she said that. I keep banging the microphone. What is wrong with me today?
Put down a bit last.
Sorry about this. Doesn't normally happen.
You better say that bit about Marta again.
Yes, Marta used the expression today, go with the flow, I think, in her message, didn't she?
Yeah. She did, yes.
So, Marta, we do like your messages. We copy everything you say. You give us most of the material. We're not round off with you at all, don't worry. The next expression we've got is to hit the ground running. That is nothing to do with using your fists or anything like that and hitting it. No, it's to do with your feet. It means you start something with a lot of energy without delay. Imagine if you were like running, your feet were moving in the air and then you hit the ground. That would be the literal physical meaning of it. So metaphorically, it's to start something with a lot of energy and without delay. You're like moving your legs even before they hit the ground. So you're ready to do it. For example, on her first day at work, Emma hit the ground running and finished 3 projects.
Or as soon as Reza arrived today, we hit the ground running and started recording podcasts immediately. Didn't we? We hit the ground running. You can walk on air. That's another way of walking idiomatically, which means you feel extremely happy. Paula was walking on air after she passed her C2 proficiency exam. She was ecstatic. She was really, really happy. She was walking on air.
Another good expression is to walk a mile in someone's shoes. It means to try to understand another person's feelings or situation. For example, before you criticize her, walk a mile in her shoes. Yeah, put yourself in her position.
You could walk the talk, which means you do what you say you will do. Good leaders walk the talk by setting a good example. So you do what you're promising to do, you walk the talk.
If you learn to walk before you run, which is sensible, and most people do that, you learn the basics before trying something difficult. For example, I could say to you, take a beginner's course first. You need to learn before you run. Don't start at the advanced. Beg pardon. You need to learn to walk before you run. So don't sign up immediately for the advanced course, you'll be lost. Do the beginner's course first, and then the advanced course. Learn to walk before you run.
Now, you might be a new listener to this podcast. You might be thinking, well, this is a bit boring. I hope all their podcasts are not like this. Well, you shouldn't jump to conclusions. You should listen to 3 or 4 episodes because they all tend to be different. If you jump to conclusions, then you form an opinion too quickly without enough information. Don't jump to conclusions before you hear the whole story or before you hear all the podcasts.
Another common expression with jump is to jump through hoops. That's H-O-O-P-S, hoops. Hoops are big round things with a hole in the middle. So it means to do many difficult or unnecessary things to achieve something. In circus performances, very often people or animals jump through hoops. Yeah, they do all sorts of difficult, complicated acrobatics. You know, someone holds this round thing in the middle of the air and someone else or an animal jump through it. For example, metaphorically, I could say, we had to jump through hoops to get our visas approved. We had to fill in a piece of paper, take it to one office, they stamped it, we had to bring that to another office who gave us a different piece of paper, we had to take that away, stick a photo on it, go back to the first office, who then told us to do something online, go to another. Eventually they gave us the visa, but we had to jump through hoops to get it.
We spoke about the verb to leap before, to jump powerfully, to leap over a fence, for example. But idiomatically, you can take a leap of faith, which is a decision that you make without being completely sure of the result. You don't know what's going to happen. You have to have faith. It's a leap of faith. Starting my own teaching business was a leap of faith, but it was worth it.
Take a step back is a common expression. It means to pause and look at a situation more carefully. For example, let's take a step back and think about the best approach to exam preparation. So let's just pause, think about it carefully before we start it. Take a step back.
You may know the next expression, step by step, which means slowly, one stage at a time, little by little. So if you practice step by step, your English will improve. Don't walk before you can run, take it slowly, step by step.
And we've got one more expression for you with the word leap. If you remember, that means a big jump, L-E-A-P, leap. Look before you leap. And it means to be prepared and to take precautions before doing something risky. For example, don't invest all your money in that new company right now. Check out their performance first. Look before you leap. Yeah. Be prepared before the big decision.
Okay. Now you may not be used to speaking English. You may be a bit shy or a bit nervous, but we would like you to take a leap of faith. Now, what we'd like you to do is to practice your English by sending us a voice message. Can you think of a way to include at least 3 or 4 of the vocabulary and expressions from today's podcast in an audio message of a maximum of 90 seconds? I'm sure you can. Take a leap of faith. And you need to learn to walk before you can run, so make some notes before you record the message and send us a voice message by going to speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. There's a link to that in the show notes and on the website at inglespodcast.com.
If you prefer, you could write to us. You could send an email to craig@inglespodcast.com or belfastreza@gmail.com.
If you're a Spanish speaker and you want to improve your English with free and paid resources, visit the Mansion Ingles website at mansioningles.com. And for paid products, you can browse the online store at store.mansioningles.net. And you don't have to jump through a lot of hoops to learn English on that website.
If you'd like a full audio transcription of this podcast, that means every single word that we say, not just the show notes which appear automatically on the website, but every single word that we say, you might consider joining our Patreon program. Patreon is spelled P-A-T-R-E-O-N. And as a Patreon member, you'll receive the full transcription by email every week so that you can read every word that we say. And also, you'll get a monthly invitation to join Craig for an informal chat on Zoom to further practice your speaking. If you're interested, have a look at the link in the show notes. It's patreon.com/Ingles podcast.
And we'd both like to thank everybody who is supporting us on Patreon. We don't have time to mention everybody's name. There's just too many of you lovely people. But we will say hello and thank you to our most recent supporter, and that's Juan Gonzalez. Thank you very much, Juan, and to everybody who's supporting us on Patreon. Reza, what's next week?
Next week, we're going to look at a very famous poem, Two Roads, understanding the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost.
We haven't spoken about poetry for a while, so I'm interested to look at that poem, learn some vocabulary with you, and we'll look at the meaning of the poem and discuss it as well. Now, if you enjoyed this podcast, please tell a friend, tell your mum, tell your granny, tell your granddad, whoever might benefit from the podcast so that more people can listen. And until next time, thank you for listening this week. It's goodbye from me.
And it's bye-bye from me.